Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boyce, in the mayor's office, by being joined by someone who knows art. And I love it because I've just been enamored trying to figure out how it works. Because I said before we went live, I had no artistic talent. And she was like, oh, heck no. You can be seeing the world over on television screens nationwide and worldwide as a former Jessica Kamea. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the creation on canvas, in the mind and the soul. Please welcome Jessica Elaban. How's it going this afternoon?
Oh my God, that is like one amazing, energetic intro. I feel like, oh, hello. I'm pleased to be here.
Oh man, thank you so much for being on the show. I love your energy, so I want to bring it back to you.
Thank you. So much gratitude for that. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm starting to do more projects involving art. So just the opportunity to talk about it on other platforms, it's very humbling because who knows, everything could be gone and like just like that. So just make sure that you enjoy everything you have to the fullest. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with my appreciation for art these days.
Well, I had a first question. Let me toss that aside because a lot of times artists, creatives say that they say, "Hey, look, tomorrow's not promised, it's not guaranteed." Is that an inspiration for the art wholesale, or something you come across when you're creating things like, "Hey, look, this is a very tightrope we're walking day to day, year to year. Let's go ahead and go full tilt."
So I think with each, so first off, each piece that I make is one of a kind. I don't print it. I really don't want anything ever made again, and so that's what I started when I first decided at the beginning of last year, a year ago, that I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to this idea of being an artist, and everything I make, I just want it to be one of a kind so that it's special because it's capturing that moment. And it's not because I have hate for anything that's printed off and recreated, because that's nice because then more people can enjoy a piece. But it's just, I feel like keeping something one of a kind is special. Just like people are one of a kind. So there you go.
Yeah, everything's unique.
But with the thank you. But with the art thing, it's when you say full tilt, do you mean okay, we're doing this every single day?
Not necessarily that. I was more about a lot of creatives say about, hey, look, man, you're not guaranteed tomorrow or next week or anything like that. And so is that an inspiration for you to create? And then when I say inspiration for you to create, is it like the types of pieces or the frequency you create? So I'm saying by full tilt, yeah.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Okay, so with that, nothing's promised today or tomorrow. It doesn't, because with that attitude, it's like when I feel it, just dive in and go for it and live in that. But when I don't, then don't force it. Go do something that's a little bit more authentic for the moment that you would actually appreciate there being, instead of I feel pressure to create this thing. Because I've done that before in the past where it's like, okay, I have to sit down, I have to make a masterpiece, and it has to be the most beautiful thing in the world. But then maybe 20 minutes later, it just feels forced or jagged or man, this is crap. So just walk away. And that's the most I think one of the most important lessons I've learned as an artist is not to force anything and to be patient with it. And if the feeling's there, then again, dive into it.
Have you tossed projects recently, or is it kind of it's not today, I'm gonna put it inside and come back to it? What's always your philosophy? You come across something you're not really feeling in that moment.
So this piece right here, actually behind me, I started maybe 5 years ago. And then, it just started off as the blue. And then I wanted to play with sand and stuff and texture. I love creating layers in art and stuff, whether it's changing mediums throughout the piece or layering paint on top of paint on top of paint. Yeah. So this originally was going to be some sort of beach background, and I just got mad at it because sometimes in the process it's not turning out how I want it to be. So just leave it alone and put it down. Right. And then maybe a few months later, I was like, oh, I want to draw a body. So I started drawing a body, and I was like, okay, I don't know where I want this to go. And then I got into mandalas and stuff. Oh, there goes my light. Mandalas recently, and then it just was like, oh, I want to put some on the side of her body, and then you run out of paint. So I feel along the way, it's kind of it's coming together as I go. But then there's other pieces, like this guy right here that I've made that it's just so easy to just pump out in a week or so.
That one was called Bubblegum, correct?
And I wish, Yeah, bubblegum.
Yeah, I was researching that online this week.
I wish the light gave it a little bit more of more justice and stuff, but it's
I'll
got
link to it in our show notes so people can see it full tilt. Yeah.
yeah, it's got mega layers on it. I'm so sad my light went out. Sorry about that.
No, it's
And now
the
it's
nature.
back.
The nature. Oh,
Okay,
there
but
it is.
things with the shine. So it's kind of like some things can take a minute, and then other things just take years. So maybe this will be my Mona Lisa. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's take a step back. Something no one just gets up one day and has things completed. I mean, there was an idea that came across your mind. At what point in your life you said, you know what, I'm gonna try it, and then after the trying it, being like, oh, this is a path I'm going to take.
It was last year, last New Year's. Art has always been one of those things that my family's like, you should do this, you should do this, don't ever stop.
Great.
But I always thought they meant it as a hobby. And then last year, I had the opportunity to create a page, which still goes. It's on Instagram and Twitter, but definitely more active on Instagram. It's at Jae Electra, where I make one of a kind pieces, and then the proceeds from those go to a charity. So I've always wanted to help people and stuff, and doing it at the same time with creating art has been a very cool and fulfilling opportunity. So I think the thing with that, with the idea of helping people, is that art has really helped me on like a personal level, not just like with creativity, but there's been moments where it's just like, okay, I have something on my mind. I don't have anybody to talk to, or I'm not sure if someone will understand or get me right now. And, or I just don't feel comfortable about talking to anybody about this. So I'm just going to like therapy, like at least get those feelings out, so I'm not holding them in, because I think we all know when you hold your feelings in, you bottle up, you explode later, and that's never good. So
Right.
at least putting it out there. But then I found too, like for some of the pieces I sold last year, when I would make pieces like that, it's kind of interesting because the people who bought them were going through a similar situation without me saying that literally about the art itself, or titling like this piece is sadness, or this piece is like happiness and anger. Like they just looked at it and they felt a certain way. And then when I was selling it to them, they would say, yeah, like I'm going through this, but this kind of really speaks to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, when I made this, I was having like some problems there, or I just learned about this. So that part about art in itself is really cool to understand and see how the human emotion is just so universal from any walk of life. So
Is this a situation where do you feel a bit of solace in having other people, strangers, go, I feel something? Do you connect with those people in the same way? Or it's kind of like, wait, I thought I was in my own feelings, but your feelings are that similar. It's cool that we're parallel lives happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that was the coolest thing, because my favorite thing about having those moments is when I did have the time to listen to their story too. And I think that's the thing about art. It's that it imitates life, and life imitates art, like that sort of thing too, in its own performance. But again, like just being relatable and relating to other people, I think that's what keeps us connected. And like us, like humans and stuff, we can't help but put meaning onto things. And then once there's that common meaning, it's like, oh wow, like there's how we all I wish I had more synonyms for connected and relatability, but
I'm with you. Well, I come from the stand-up comedy world, and that one sees a little bit more surface level. I tell jokes, people laugh and go, that's funny, but so often jokes come from a place of doesn't necessarily hurt, but a perspective where you feel that no one can understand, and you try to explain to people, and then someone sees you after the show going, hey, look, I'm also this kind of person, or I had this same quirk, I see myself through you, you made me feel a lot less weird for feeling that way. And that's things that you don't really like think about when you're writing punchline, set up punchline, or doing each stroke of the brush. By the end, it becomes something else. That's makes it so cool,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love that about comedy too, because it's like when people are sarcastic or facetious, it's really it's like a secondary emotion of
Yeah.
anger. And the same thing is with anger. Like it's funny how that works. But I think that like your ability to connect with people in that way, like that's so important. And I did like this Twitter this Twitter poll like maybe a year ago because I was curious about what was being offered in schools and stuff, because I had heard, and I don't have like papers of documents of research, but I had heard that some states were cutting out the art programs in like their education, and I was like, no, like how could you? Because art's not just like getting paint on a piece of paper and learning how to draw like a flower or anything like that. It's more like helping educate and develop the innovative side and I guess creative ways of thinking and stuff. So, and that really helps people along like later on in life, like with problem solving or just thinking outside of the box in general. So when I heard that, I got inspired to do a couple exercises with my mom, and she is a teacher in Arizona. And this was kind of all during COVID. And I was like, what if for part of your class period that you have, because everybody's on Zoom and it's so hard to get kids' attention, why don't we like I'll just do a drawing or like a little art exercise that's really easy. I'll have the camera aimed at my hands, and we'll just have like a 5-minute lesson and stuff. And it was like, okay, we're going to take a letter or like the first letter of your name, and we'll just put it on the paper, and you can make it any size you want, big or small. And then we'll rotate the canvas and see what comes of that and stuff. And then you just add on to whatever you want. The rest is up to you. So I did an example with like the number 100. I drew a face, and they were just like, oh, wow, like that's cool. That's different. And like some of the students, they weren't, not all of them spoke English. Like English was their second language. So just being able to still do something like a lesson and stuff, but that you're able to take to more than one general audience, it was like really rewarding. And like
elementary school kids,
and which had to be so hard because during COVID and stuff, it's like, how are these teachers getting these other students to sit down and grab their attention? So I found the importance with art is one, well, you can get anyone's attention with it if done right, or at least like with a genuine good feeling in mind to learn and grow. And that too, like you can teach it to anybody.
Right.
To anybody. And so later on, my mom told me that her supervisor and stuff, she was like, yeah, I got a really high rating for that lesson. So thanks. So I was happy to share that with her. And then, so I think like with all of this art stuff happening, one of my projects is to eventually start a YouTube channel where it's like, okay, just quick lessons and stuff. Yeah. And I don't really know who my market's going to be, but anybody who loves to draw, who loves to paint, who's just curious, not sure if I'm going to Bob Ross it or what the format's going to be with it yet, but I definitely.
It's incredibly valuable. When I was in high school, this is kind of the whole arts thing. So they were cutting programs when I was a kid in school, and I think we're about the same age. I think I'm a little older than you are. I think I'm an old man. But we had to do one class of art to graduate, and I didn't. So my last semester, I was in art class, and I had an art teacher that wasn't really encouraging. It happens. People are people, and I did not want to touch art at all until I had a job years later where one of my employees was doing one of those like Michael's art classes thing. And I went and I was so afraid. It was like, I didn't know what to do. I saw the paint, I saw the canvas. It was a acrylic on canvas. And she walked me through it. I go, if I had this kind of encouragement back then, I think I'd have been way more open to trying different things and being okay and Bob Rossing it. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying. So yes, please go for it. Make the channel happen. I'll subscribe. Why not?
Yeah, that makes me wonder, like, because I was wondering about, I guess, the mindset with people who don't believe that they would be good at art and stuff. Like what had to happen to them or what message they were giving as a kid, and if there was encouragement or no encouragement or even exposure to it. So that makes me wonder, like at large, what's the conversation with people who don't know practice that much. And it's fine if you're just simply not interested, because there's plenty of things that I'm just not interested in.
Right. I have a theory though. So I cannot sing to save my life, but I love karaoke because for me, it's the performance of me not singing very well. To give myself to a song and be like, mama, ooh, you know what I'm saying? For someone who does not sing, or they say they can't, at some point try singing for real, told they couldn't do it, and they clammed up. And so I think of my parents, between them, they're immigrants, right? They work 5 jobs and they come home tired. And their 6-year-old son's like, look at my macaroni art. They may not have the energy to be like, oh, this is great. There's no hype boys at the house. I think that does matter. And in a school, if your teachers are engaged, that does matter. And that's why I think a lot of us are gun shy. But it's real cool to talk with creatives like yourself who found a way to persevere and are still creating today. That alone's an inspiration.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That just makes me it makes me think of like anything, like I guess anything that I'm involved in or any person wanting to try something new, just like as a friend or even person, just be like, hey, you're interested, go do it, go have fun, see how it works out. I feel like there also is like that voice and stuff, because I had this growing up from one of my relatives too. They were kind of like this voice of reason or toughen you up kind of person, which I didn't always appreciate, but now I understand. But it was kind of that, how much will do you have? Like, well, do you really want to do this, or is it real? Like, to be a little bit more investigative about things. And like at first I was just like, oh, like you just don't want me to do this. Like I don't know. I want to be happy. You don't want me to be happy.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, but then I realized, I was like, I don't really care what they say. I want to do this. Like, this feels good to me right now. And
absolutely,
that's important. So,
and it comes down to the resolve of the individual. And I think going back to Bob Ross, it wasn't much his art because he was dope. He was fire. He was flames. He was hot in the streets. But it was him going, oh, happy accidents. A pro's messing up on TV, being like, oh, it's all right. I think that was like the lightning rod for a lot of people. And I know, especially for the creators on the show who are women, minorities, new Americans or immigrants, there is like this pressure to get it right the first time. And when it comes down to that, it's like, oh, I don't want to be seen as someone who's not good, or I'm still working on things. We just get kind of gun shy and go, oh, all right, whatever.
Yeah, I was actually, so I'm working on this, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm working on this book right now, and
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. I've been doing a lot of writing and a lot of research about it, but to touch on the idea of being able to do something and still being human, I think one of the themes like that I would love to see is the focus in media and stuff, and that I'm hoping to accomplish in this book is it's okay to be human, because you are human. You can't do anything about it, and it's going to come with A, B, and C, but don't worry, you'll get to X, Y, and Z later on. So even when I see it, like, I'm sure whenever you're on Instagram or social media, you could see clips of people making mistakes and stuff, or like failing or falling down. And it's just refreshing to know that that's just part of the process. Yeah. And I don't know why or where that comes from, because I remember when I was a kid that I would always just strive for perfection. Like, it must be this way and it must be done quickly, the fastest and the strongest. And after a while, it kind of builds up and it creates like this pressure and facade of things that really just aren't. Like, it's nice to have the idea, because I think that's it's good to romanticize and fantasize certain things, because that's just what people do and stuff, as a form of escapism. But then on the other hand, like, whenever you dial it back, it's like, okay, like, being imperfect and vulnerable is necessary for growth too, to get to those places.
Was it an experience when you realized that shift? Or was it kind of like or was it kind of a more subtle thing you go where you realize, hey, look, the process is kind of as fun in its own right, or important in its own right?
I feel like for certain aspects of it, like, it was just something I knew of and I would say, but I didn't really know the meaning of it, or the full meaning of it, or I didn't have like, I guess, this new perspective I have on it. Like, while I was in the process of it, saying like, okay, like, embrace the process. You're going to fail and stuff. But even in failure, it would just hurt so much, because it's like, I don't like, that's just who I am. I'm competitive. I like winning. But then realizing that there are different types of winning to grow from. And so I think now, whenever I look at it, as far as just this process, like, just the whole process of growth, it's like it's never going to stop and stuff. So you might as well just enjoy it.
Are you winning now?
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta ask, you know what I'm saying?
It's like, and they're like, well, how and stuff, and everybody's definition of winning is different. Like, I mean, I feel like the way I grew up with my perspective of winning, it was like, it's black and white, like, it's on the scoreboard and stuff. It's like, it's either do you or don't you have something. But I think right now, in terms of paying more attention to what drives me and what makes me happy, and is number one. And I think for a long time it wasn't. It was just like, okay, like to be successful means like, all right, I have to, the way I would define it, I would go to work every day. I wouldn't take that many breaks. I would look strong. I would always seem like I'm busy and stuff. But I like, even running around the house and doing things and stuff, it got to a point where my significant other was just like, hey, you need to sit down.
Slow down.
Sit and stuff.
Yeah.
And I like, after a while, I would just feel like drained and stuff and not fueled. So now it's like, okay, so even though I was feeling like I had to accomplish all of these things and stuff, it was kind of like on this tempo, like
right.
It has to be like this, when really some really beautiful things can be created when you go to yours. And everybody's is different, and I'm learning that mine is it needs to like chill for a second to create other things, and like to allow myself to be more present. And I feel like being more present makes me feel like I'm winning more. So
that's also great. Yeah. Well, how do you get there? How do you get to the winning mindset? How do you approach that path to becoming present? Meditation?
I think it's a lot of checking in with yourself and stuff, like taking a minute to check in. I think, at least for me and for my experiences, the more that I've done that, the more I could say like, okay, well, I am on track today. I slept, I did everything on my to-do list, and my to-do list wasn't like a million, but it wasn't like one thing. But yeah, I would say I spend time checking in and making sure that I do at least one thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
That I want to do. And that was like, I'm putting such an emphasis on that, because it's like, for the longest time, I was like, okay, well, I have to do this, and I have to do this, because then I'll get here. And I do understand that there are certain types of careers that call for that, where there are periods of times where you just have to say, you know what, like, screw my feelings, this just has to get done, you know? But I feel like I've been turned off, and I feel like maybe that's why I haven't been as productive creatively. But since I took that step back, I'm like, okay, like I know what I'm going to do here. I know I'm going to do here. I've got this project here. And it's nice to have multiple things going on, because it's something I've always wanted to do. And so for me, like, that makes me feel like I'm winning.
What does Jessie want to do this year or the year after? Like what is something that's, if you can share? I mean, I know it's a personal question, but things you can share, things you would like to do or want to do.
So I am looking to explode creatively, and it's coming. I have multiple projects happening. I have the art. I'm hoping to get a commission where I could just like paint a mural on a wall somewhere. Like that would be so cool to me. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, speak it to existence.
On a scene building, not on the back of a building.
Fair enough. Yeah. Say exactly what you want. Exactly.
Yeah. Away from anyone who could see it.
Right.
Definitely writing. I'm not quite like, okay, so here's what's exciting. I know I'm moving in a direction that I want to go in. I just don't know what's going to happen. And it makes me feel excited and terrified at the same time. Like, it's just like, okay, like this is what I want. But I feel like for the first time, like it makes me feel alive.
Yeah. You know, a lot of successful companies out there on the planet, there's the CEO at top and there's a board of trustees the CEO works for. If you were a brand, if you were a company, who are your board of trustees? Who's your bullpen? Who's your top 5, your top 10 people you take some of your ideas with and say, is this okay? Is this all right? How do you guys think of this project? So on and so forth.
So people I check in with.
Yeah. Your advisory council.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm working with a mentor right now. She used to be, I met her through my old job, and she was an acting coach, and I've kept in touch with her, and she's helping me create this book that's hopefully going to be a TV series later on. And she's great. Like, she has so much experience. She's traveled the world. She's done live performance. I don't want to give out too many details right now.
No, fair enough. No,
Really
as open as you want.
Check with her because she's a mentor and she's done what I want to do, and we have a great relationship. On top of that, there's my significant other and stuff, just to be like, hey, check in, because I feel like for the most part with us, like our working dynamic is we just want to be supportive cheerleaders for each other and be like,
absolutely,
okay, you got this done today. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what I did? Yeah, I did it.
Hype against hype.
Yeah, like we're each other's hype.
Yeah.
And it feels like if that feels really good. And then I also check in just with my sister, because she's also this other voice of reason and stuff, because in the past I've always, like, if I hear something that's remotely attractive to me, I just dive in full force without asking questions. And so like she kind of has my back to be like, like,
Yeah.
did you think about this? Did you think about this? And I'm just like, well, yeah. And then before I know it, I feel like I'm arguing with her, and she's like, I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah.
And
We have the same name. We're on the same team.
What's that?
We're on the same name. We're on the same team. What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, do you ever, okay, so like with everything that you have going on, do you ever feel like those people that are trying to be the voice of reason? Maybe it's just me, because I've realized that I get really defensive right away. I'm just like, I'm doing this, but do you think that's like a normal thing, or
so
like you?
I use the board of trustees dynamic for me specifically because a company can be in one industry, but the board from all different parts of aspects, right? So I have people who podcast specifically, those who do comedy and stuff like that. Then I have like my mom who doesn't understand that stuff, but she wants to know that I'm happy. So when I have a big idea or a project, I always check in with them. For example, I wrote my book this year, my first memoir. I wrote books before. My first memoir, Graduation Day, available now on Amazon, kids. My mom read it as, and there it is. she read it as my mom and goes, okay, I don't know anything, but I appreciate this. People who see me online going, hey, Flobo, you host 7 podcasts. Let me read your book too. They had different notes for me. So I always take some aspects, but you're absolutely right. When someone goes, have you thought about this, that, and that, and that? I'm like, I'm out here on this boat alone. I don't need you from ashore telling me how bad of a pilot I am or captain I am.
You don't know who I am. No.
Exactly. Club, you know? So yeah, it's kind of a weird mix.
I like that though. I think it's important to have, like, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's important to have, like, my circle's like kind of small right now and in the developing phases, because I'm learning, like, I just learned like, hey, I want to write a book. I want to write a TV series. I want to create this way. I want to produce, because in entertainment, like, you see a lot of men behind the camera. I mean, there are women, but like predominantly, like, it's mostly men and stuff. And it's just, it would be nice to have that sort of representation and voice and perspective introduced in storytelling. So that's just another thing I have going on. And so when it comes to board of trustees, I have other friends who have experience. So it's like a matter of reaching out to them, getting to know what their process was, what worked, what didn't work, understanding too, like the source too, like always, like Bill Nye, that stuff, like consider the source with it. Okay, coming from someone who is in comedy, this is coming from someone who is, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want a Bill Nye shirt now.
Yeah, anyone down with Bill Nye? I actually had a shirt that said Nye Tyson for president. Oh, I missed that one. So actually one of my favorites. Yeah, Bill Nye the Science Guy. So on Twitter, see, I can't sing. On Twitter, you had mentioned this, and I wanted to ask you this back to you. So like, haha, mirror match. You asked on January 7th, what's missing in entertainment these days? In your opinion, what do you think's missing?
So a lot of this is why I asked it, because I felt like I was having a discussion with Swerve, my significant other, about entertainment, and we always go back and forth on it about different categories, allegories, themes, stories that have been told. Whenever we turn on a new series, and right away one of us are like, you know what, I know this story, I'm not interested anymore, you know, because sometimes, like, the argument is like things have been done over and over and over again. And I recently thought, I was like, maybe it's just by who's running the show, you know? Maybe, and the thing that's missing, I think it's there's a whole bunch of people, a whole like pool of people and their own unique experiences and perspectives. So there's no way like everything has been done already. But I think the thing that's missing is is some new representation in one with like this current generation we have. So like I think I'm a millennial. I consider myself a millennial. And then like the new ones coming up and having their voice being heard. Actually, I like
The
one of
disgust in your face. I think I'm a millennial.
I think I don't know. Like you see these new TikToks and stuff on social media with like, is it Gen Z and stuff?
Gen
They
Z,
make fun of
yeah.
millennials, and I'm just like, oh, I agree, I did. Okay. But I think with that, and then also representation when it comes to like this might be a touchy subject, but I don't want it to be. I just want it to be an educational one where representation across the board is there. Because now, like, if at least from my experience in American culture, having mixed backgrounds, it's kind of like I feel like my voice kind of gets a little bit lost in the shuffle, or it's only been presented in like such a small area or totally false or unrelatable. Like the last like mixed Caucasian and Asian female I saw on TV was from I think from the show Shameless, and I think I'm assuming that she's mixed or whatever because we kind of look alike, but that she was just like this rich little girl with like daddy's credit card, and it's just like that's not always the case.
Right.
There's a lot of mixed ethnicities where it's like, okay, well, I've heard of the one where it's like, well, I'm Caucasian and I'm Black and stuff, but which one do I go to? Well, I think the same thing falls with other ethnicities and races, and it's like, okay, well, I'm mixed Caucasian and Asian, but I grew up in like suburbia, but I would always go back to this other neighborhood where my dad was at, and he's full on Hawaiian and Japanese. And so I get some of that culture. And then whenever I hear like these two arguments in school about, again, with representation, I would just kind of like sit there and listen and observe and be like, okay, well, I can hear where you guys are coming from, but I'm not sure if I feel as upset, but I do feel not included. So it's just I think it's just the same thing that everyone else who's not on screen wants. Like you just want to be included and you want to be seen. And that's what, and I know I'm going to touch on a little bit of wrestling, but that's what I wanted when I first started the Jessie show and stuff. Like I was just this in school, kind of this nerdy character, but I was also this jock. And like whenever I'd look on TV, anytime I saw anyone that looked like me, their position was more, I don't know, like exotic, I guess. And I'm like, let's like add a little bit more depth into the mix. So
what I liked about the Jessie show, and I know this at a wrestling podcast, is because I'm American. And both my parents are Black, but they're West Indian, right? And I think first generation Americans have a similar deal on a cultural level, where your parents basically leave a country for a reason to get you ingrained in one culture, but you're responsible for being the vanguard for your old culture, understanding the new one, and somehow being both but neither. And so what I liked about the Jessie show, in that case, that character was that, outside you were nerd presenting, but you kick people in the face. But I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty interesting. I was a fan ever since. So I know what you mean on that level. Obviously, I can't speak for being Caucasian or Asian, but to answer your question that I asked you to ask me is that I don't think stories are done. I think people find formulas that work and drill it till it's over. Like if I want to do a big sweeping superhero movie, I'll have to do the Marvel formula because that's what's working. I'm not going to try anything crazy until we find the next thing. And so that's why I think we get burnt out 20, 30 years in these cycles. But I don't think stories are just like done. Like, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that too, because it was the business side of things came up, because it takes a lot to go into production. It takes a lot to like get all the talent and pay everybody. So it's like if you're throwing and investing that much into it, like you want it to work. So you want to go with something that's sure that'll get you there. And I think that's I haven't watched the whole thing, but Lovecraft Country.
Okay. Yeah.
It was it got a lot of Emmy nominations. I don't think it won anything, but it was very original and stuff because it had like this combination of. Are you familiar?
I know of the show. I haven't seen the episodes yet.
Okay, it's a combination of sci-fi, witchcraft, timepiece, kind of all thrown together, and I thought it was like so original. So it's just kind of like, okay, so with this book I'm writing and other themes and stuff that we've seen before. It's like, okay, well, how does this dynamic work with this dynamic, because it hasn't been done, and is it relatable to the audience? So I think those are important things to consider, because like if someone can't relate to whatever piece you're making, or feel enchanted by it, then they might just go to the next thing. So hopefully everything everything I have going on will connect and relate, and like in more than just a lighthearted way, but also address like social issues and things like that.
Well, Jessica, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. You are a beacon of light of creativity for not for just the listener of the show, but for other people going through a similar experience that you are. Your art's available at Jae Electra on Instagram, and plus it's for charity, which is really cool. You do it for charity, man. I respect that. You love the kids.
Yeah, so it's for a portion goes to Give Kids the World. They're in Orlando, Florida. They have a village here where they invite kids and families and stuff that obviously have like terminal things and things that just sort of take over their life. So it just gives them a chance to like have a vacation and experience things without like worrying, just smile and have fun and be happy.
So awesome. And if someone's listening right now, they're inspired and fired up by what you said today, or how they go about engaging with you to follow up with any questions, see your art, how they go about doing that?
Okay, so you could find me, Jessica Elaban, under my art Instagram page at Jae Electra, JaeElectra, on Instagram. Direct message me if you want any special commissions made. I have done like a ton of commissions that way, where people will message me like, hey, like I would like a picture of my dog, or hey, can you just make something with this style? I can't say I can do everything to perfection, but I can say that I will give everything a try and give it my best. And then again, those proceeds are donated to Give Kids the World. So thank you guys so much. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I look forward to creating more. I'm excited about this journey, and I hope everyone's having an awesome day.